Hi, future self. This is a dog on a couch that she's perfectly camouflaged for. So, in the past couple of days slash videos, I've been making these polymer clay masks. Vi loves to set up an art trap for me when I go up to her place. Oh, I just conveniently happen to have these materials, and you should play with them. So this is the final mask I made during this trip, and it turned out wonderfully. I was a little scared. I made some decisions that, weren't necessarily risk free, but hey, when is art ever risk free? Or even riskful? Just make some stuff. Um, okay, so what did I think about? What did I decide about this mask? This first two polymer clay masks I made were very high relief, meaning that the distance from the surface of the mask to the top of the clay body was very high. So I wanted to make something that was quite low relief, where the clay would be quite thin in all areas, but that had a lot of texture. So the first thing I did was I went over really smoothing the clay out, really getting it affixed to the paper armature underneath, and then pinching up the sort of ridges that you see around the face. I'm now going to start calling it the moon mask because that's what Steve titled it after he saw the finished piece. He said it was the moon mask, so that's what we're calling it. After I worked on the ridges, I went through all of the sort of tools that we had around that could make impressions, the back of markers, pencils, my own fingers, the backs of paint brushes, and sort of broken pieces of art materials, just a bunch of different stuff. And I started going through and making all of the different textures that you see on the surface. I'm gonna switch to the high speed painting version. So once I had done many layers of texturing, I textured with my fingers, and I would switch to tools, and then back to my fingers, and then back to tools, and some of the tools you could layer their textures on top of each other. Then, I baked it, and when it was cool, I went into painting. And the mask I made before this used a lot of gray, but also incorporated a bunch of yellow and a bunch of other colors sort of extensively throughout the thing to make it look, I don't know, maybe watery is a good word for that. But in this piece, I decided to go entirely grayscale. So I mixed all of the grays just from straight black and white, and I gradiated the face so that it looked as though light was shining on the part of the mask that's closest to you, sort of one of the eyes and the side of the nose. And then I worked out from there, building a really dark ring around the outside and sort of building it up from there. And after I did the sort of base underpainting, I went through and I did a bunch of dark and light highlights. You can see here a lot of the insides of the craters are painted quite dark to make them look deeper, and then I went around with the white highlighting edges of ridges, inside of some of the things. The insides of the 4 eye holes and the 1 nose hole are all painted quite dark to make them look deeper. So yeah, there's still fingerprints in it and that kind of stuff, but it came out great. I really loved the semi-humanness of it. So because I'm starting on this human face armature, it never gets really far away from human. It still stays in that realm while also taking on the rocks and the alienness and the other things that of the moon. So yeah, I think it did pretty good. This is my favorite mask of all of the, I think 5, 4 of which I think I've shown. 1 I did not document. But yeah, this was definitely my favorite. This little section right here, so good. Just puckery and delicious. So, bye future self, use more clay.